Missed or late payments, bankruptcy judgments, or tax liens are negative spots on your credit rating or your credit report, and they stay on it for 6 to 10 years. So that's something you really don't want to have on your credit report at all. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, The Bulletproof Life. My name is Ronke Odewumi and I'm delighted to have you here. If you are new to my channel, on here I talk about money, budgeting, saving, investing, living a bulletproof life. So if you haven't subscribed, please press the red button on your right to subscribe and don't forget to press the bell so you can get notification whenever I share a video. I'm going to go right into today's topic, which is credit scores. Why is your credit score low? What's your credit score? What's your credit rating? What does it mean? Your credit score or your credit rating is simply a score or a number that's been assigned to you as a person that allows financial organizations, financial bodies, banks, loan companies, mortgage providers to gauge or to estimate how good you are with money. It's a score that helps them determine how much loan they can give you. It helps them determine how well you're going to pay back loans or credit cards and so on. So your credit score is a measure of your financial ability when it comes to loans, or is a measure of how well you can manage a debt. So if your credit score is low, it's telling the lender or the financial institution you might not be so good with money, or you might not pay back so quickly or so well, or you simply haven't had debt for long enough. If your credit score is high, it's exactly the opposite. It's telling them you are good with money, you're financially stable, you're financially viable, they can afford to give you a loan, they can afford to give you a loan at a lower interest, and so on. So that goes to say, having a high credit score is to your benefit because it's telling lenders and financial institutions good things about you. So if your credit score is low, you're likely to get less credit or less loans than you need. You're likely to get your credit or your loan at a higher interest rate because the lenders don't trust you enough, or they don't feel you're capable of paying enough, or they don't feel you're financially stable enough, which in itself is an interesting one, because if you feel somebody is not very stable, why are you giving them a high interest loan? Anyway, let's not go into the morality of that. So if your credit score is low, it's not really to your benefit. So it's always good for you to increase your credit score or to have a high credit rating so that lenders can trust you more and give you better interest whenever you need to take credit, like a credit card or a loan or a mortgage. This means having a high credit score is to your benefit as an individual because you are going to be able to access a wider variety of credit. So there will be some credit cards or some loans that will become available to you as your credit score increases, or if you have a high credit rating. And also you're likely to get your credit or your loans at a lower interest rate simply because the financial institution or the body giving the loan has more faith in your financial stability. So how can we get your credit score up? How do we increase your credit score? Why is your credit score low? These are the questions we need to answer today. We need to sort this out. Now, in the UK, there are two main bodies that issue credit rating. We have Experian and Equifax. So you can have an Experian score and an Equifax rating. So both of them will give you a credit rating if you check your credit score through these bodies. And when you check your credit score on either of these two platforms, you can find out whether you have a low credit rating or a high credit rating. They have different numbers they use. So why is your credit score low? What are the things that make your credit score low? Number one, late or missed payments. When your payments on your credit cards or your loans are late, or if you miss a payment, it immediately impacts your credit score because it's telling the lender something. It's telling the credit bodies something, that you're unable to make payments or you're struggling to make payments. And that signals a message about your financial stability. So never, ever, ever miss a credit card payment or a loan payment. Don't be late set up a direct debit. Usually when you take out a loan, they automatically ask you to set up a direct debit at the time you are taking the loan. Please don't decline it. If you're planning to renegotiate your loan, or if you've gone to renegotiate your loan and they ask you to set up a direct debit, please do that. For your credit card payments, you should also set up a minimum payment on direct debit so that that goes out and you don't miss a payment. And if you find yourself more fluid as the month goes on, then you can top up that payment on your credit card. So late or missed payments is something that impacts your credit score and drops it down. So if you are trying to get your credit score up, don't ever miss a payment or be late on your payments. Missed or late payments, bankruptcy judgments, or tax liens are negative spots on your credit rating or your credit report, and they stay on it for 6 to 10 years. So that's something you really don't want to have on your credit report at all. Just as an aside, your credit report is a report that shows your credit history. What credit cards you have, what loans you have, what missed payments, what late payments, what payments you've made, how you are, a full picture of your credit footprint, I should say. And that credit report then carries a credit rating or a credit score tied to you. The second thing that would make your credit score low or make it drop is if you make a lot of credit applications around the same period. So if you make applications for a credit card, you don't get it, then you make a second application, you don't get it, you make a third application, you don't get it. All of those applications are checks on your credit report, and every time you make an application, it impacts your score. So you shouldn't make a lot of applications that make hard checks on your credit. If you want to make an application, there are credit applications that make soft checks. Soft checks don't leave footprints, and there are websites that tell you if you're going to qualify for a card or a credit card before you even apply for it at all. And these websites, they do a soft check which doesn't reflect on your credit report. So if the website is telling you that you're not likely to get that card, there's a 70% chance that you're not going to get that card, don't bother applying for it, because if you do and you don't get it, there's going to be a hard footprint on your credit report that impacts your score. So if you then go on to make another application a few months down the lane or a few weeks down the lane, that comes together to keep dropping your score. And of course, the more applications you make that are declined, the lower your score drops, because it's just telling the financial organizations, it's telling the credit system that you're desperate for money, you're desperate for credit, which you really can't afford. So the next thing that affects your credit score is financial links. If you have financial links with somebody else, so if you're joined together, or you have a joint account with, say, a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or you've bought property together, that's a financial link. Now, if your partner or the person you've bought property with or have a joint account with has poor credit, that's going to affect your own credit score. If the other person declares bankruptcy, or they have bad money habits and keep missing their payments, their credit payments, or make late payments and things like that, and so they have really poor credit, it continues to affect your own credit score. So it's either you tell your partner to improve their habits, or you delink yourself from your partner. You separate your financial links with the other person. Also, if you're no longer in a relationship with someone, or you no longer have a financial relationship with someone or reason to be linked, take active steps to separate yourself from that person's financial history or that person's financial credit. So if you have a joint account, close it down, have separate bank accounts so that you're not linked financially. Uncorrected errors on your credit report impacts your credit score. So if there's an error on your credit report, errors can be made. There's a payment that you've not actually missed but it's been recorded as missed, or there's a payment that wasn't late but has been recorded as late, or something has happened to your card and has impacted your credit rating. You need to take steps to correct that error. You need to call the credit rating body, Equifax or Experian, and correct that error and make sure that that correction is reflected on your credit report, because once the error is corrected and reflected, your credit score will be positively impacted. So uncorrected errors on your credit report impact your credit score. There's a video on my channel where I talked about money mistakes to avoid, and one of the things I talked about in that video was withdrawing cash from your credit card. This is a no-no. This is a never. I talked about why in that video, so please check it out, link in the description. And you should never withdraw money from your credit card. It portrays you as having poor financial habits. It says that you're desperate for money, you're so broke that you're taking cash out of your credit card. And that's because the cash you take out of your credit card is going to be the last one to be paid off. So as you're paying off that card, everything else will be paid off, card payments, purchases, and so on will be paid off. Even balance transfers will be paid off before a cash withdrawal is paid off. And a cash withdrawal always has a higher interest rate on the credit card. It tends to, most of the time it does. So when you take out cash from your credit card, it's a negative move, it's a bad move, and it's reflected on your credit report and impacts your credit score. So if you've been taking out card from your credit card before, or you've ever done it before, please don't do it again. It impacts you negatively, it impacts your score, and it doesn't allow you to get good credit in future. The other thing that impacts your credit score, which a lot of people don't seem to know, is not being on the voters register. And this is applicable especially in the UK. You need to be on the voters register. If you are not on the voters register, your credit score is going to be impacted. It's going to be low. Once you get on the voters register, you will see your credit score actively move up. I can't really justify why. I think it's got something to do with the address or the fact that it means that you can be found. I'm not sure. But being on the voters register is a positive for your credit report and your credit score. So if you are not, please register now. You don't have to be a British citizen to be on the voters register. So please, if you are not on the voters register, get on it. It's very good for your credit score, it's very good for your credit rating, and will help you to get good credit in future and to push up your credit rating. This next point is particularly interesting because you wouldn't expect it. So let's say you've paid off one of your debts, you paid off a credit card, and then you decide to close it down. That will actually impact your credit score negatively. Let me explain. When you have, say, £20,000 worth of credit, that's your credit card, and you've used 10,000 of it, your credit utilization rate is 50%. It means that you've used 50% of the credit that's available to you. So let's say you've paid off 3,000 out of the 10,000 you've spent on your card, which is a good thing, but you've only used £7,000. You've got £13,000 unused, and that's the benefit. But you now cancel a card that's got £10,000 unused. So technically, you only have £3,000 left of your utilization. You've used £7,000 of your utilization. That's 70% used up. So utilization rate has gone up, even though you've cancelled a card that's unused completely, or you've cancelled a card that you've paid off completely, and now your utilization rate has gone up. That impacts your credit score. So when you pay off a card, don't bother cancelling it. Leave it, because it drops your utilization rate and shows that you have credit you are not using. You're disciplined, you have credit, but you're not using it because you're financially stable, you're financially disciplined, and you can be trusted with money. It's a whole psychology game going on. But that's the thing. When you cancel a credit card, you're likely to get your credit score dropping. Which brings us to the last point on why your credit score is low, or how you can get your credit score high. At this point, I don't wish it on my enemy. I don't wish it on anybody. Not like I have an enemy, but I don't wish it on anybody ever. And it's identity theft. If somebody has stolen your identity and they've used your credit in a nasty way, they've used it, and of course they're not going to pay it because they are thieves. They just want to spend your money or spend your credit and run off into the sunset. God punish them. And they've used your credit card and they've spent it and you're not aware of it because it's an identity theft. They're not even aware. And so you've missed this so-called payment on credit that you did not spend, but one useless person somewhere has spent, and they've used your credit. So that identity theft is going to impact your credit score negatively until you get it resolved, until you get your bank aware and you get that debt taken off your credit report and you get that payment taken off your credit report, which is why I always suggest that you check your credit report regularly. There is an app I use called Clear Score to check my credit report. I just download it on my phone and register on it, and they give you like your monthly credit report. They tell you how you're doing credit wise. It's a great way for you to pick up on when somebody else is using your credit. God forbid that should happen to any of us, but if it does happen, checking your credit report monthly is a great way to find out that something is going wrong with your credit because somebody else has been using it. And that brings us to the end of today's conversation about money. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I'm delighted to have you here. It's a pleasure hanging out with you guys. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please press the red button. I don't even know where the red button is. Press the red button on the right to subscribe. And don't forget to press the bell so you get notifications every time I share a new video. Don't forget to like this video, to comment and to share. I love to connect with you guys in the chat box. I always respond to comments. And so I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Until my next video, which is going to be on Monday, you take care of yourself and keep living that bulletproof life. Bye-bye.